or something like that. I have no idea. I might be on, I might not. I might be audible, I might not. But if I am, good Friday, everybody. Happy Pi Day Friday. Happy dramas. Yeah, that's the first time I've said that correctly because, as you know, it's Dave Rush, Ask Me Anything, and Scott. Scott is definitely going to be low participation today. He managed to spend a few minutes of time with me prior to the show. We talked about a few things and got some ducks in order, but he's posting. So you can at least contact him via YouTube. I was afraid that the Euro 2021 game was going to be today during the show, and we would just utterly, totally lose him. But that's not till Sunday, so we can talk about that. All right, let me get my screens set up here. I'm learning this. I've changed procedures and processes, and I just don't know what the heck I'm doing with this stuff anymore. It's a creeping thing, right? You set something up and it's okay. Oh, wait a minute, I could do this to improve it. And a little later I could do that. The next thing you know, it's a full-blown studio with 400 lights and 6 cameras and. Well, all right, so let's get things started. Good Friday, everybody. It's not Good Friday, but it is a Good Friday. It's 2:00 Central Time, and I am Dave Rush, your Master of Ceremonies. I am the Senior Instructor of all things at Total Seminars. You'll know Total Seminars from being the most popular book and video providers in the CompTIA trifecta, A+, Network Plus, Security Plus certification field. There's some other nice folks out there who participate, but we do books and videos and practice tests and so much more. And I came online with Total a little over 10 years ago to be their instructor, and I have done much of that for the last 8.5 years. And then this thing happened, and so here I am, parked remotely like just about everybody. And I miss teaching. There's always work to be done, but I just, it's what I do. It's what I've always done, minus the brief time as an airline pilot. And so one day the opportunity came up, and I asked Mike if I could have this time slot and do some kind of teaching in here. And absolutely, he said, let's that's what we do. The company is a teaching company. We're a book writing company. We're a video creation company. We're a teaching company. And myself and Mike and Scott, and there are others, we teach. And so I was just going stir crazy. And then this opportunity came to be, and we found a good niche, something that I like, something that's useful as we prepare for various CompTIA certifications, and drama was born. So this is an Ask Me Anything. We do this show for 2 hours, starts at 2:00 Central Time, goes till about 4:00 Central Time. Somewhere about halfway through the show, we start and do some kind of a presentation. Man, do I have a fun and exciting and interesting and fascinating presentation today. But until that time, I'm looking for your questions. Anything technical, anything CompTIA related, anything other than, the usual rules, no religion, no politics. And we'll just have a good time here. That's what I plan on doing. We do this every Friday. Mike does a show. Mike Myers, the author, co-owner, and many other hat wearer of Total Seminars. He does an AMA on every Monday and every Wednesday at this same time. Sometimes presentations, sometimes he just takes questions, sometimes he just pontificates on all things technological. Mine's a little more tightly focused, keeps me out of trouble with everybody. How's that? So, of course, we are focused here on using the Raspberry Pi, the little Raspberry Pi computer. I got one in a case here. I don't have any open lying around. Yeah, there's an open one lying around. This is a little, if you're watching this for the first time, that's why I'm doing this. I know I got a little regulars here, but this is a Raspberry Pi computer. It is quite literally a little larger than a business card, a little smaller than a deck of cards. It's a computer. It is everything that every computer you've ever played with It is maybe not quite as powerful as your big gaming rig, but there's a 4-core CPU on there. This one's got, I don't know, 2, 4, or 8 gigs. It's soldered on memory. I'd have to go look closely to see which model this is. It runs all kinds of operating systems. They tend to be Linux based, but people are running Windows on them in emulators, and that's not an emulator, in virtual machines and emulators. How's that? And it just does incredible things. When I was thinking about today's project, we're going to do a thing called OpenCV. I'm not going to get into it right now, but OpenCV is the framework for visually detecting and analyzing artificial intelligence and machine learning. A lot more to it, and we'll get into it a little bit as we go along. But look at this. This computer, oh, rats. I just bumped my OpenCV camera. I have no idea where it's aimed now. Well, we'll figure it out when we get that far. You take this $35 computer and a $7 power supply and a $5 case and a $5 micro SD card. That's everything you need hardware-wise. Everything else you can do with computer equipment that you already have. Your existing monitor, your existing keyboard, your existing mouse. You can buy those things, but so what'd you just spend? $50. And then you install the software that we're going to install today. All open source stuff. Gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs of code that have been developed by this massive community of people who are just looking not just to grow the Raspberry Pi, but to grow the whole universe of open source capabilities on all kinds of computers. And we're going to do today what just a few years ago would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps, for the grand expenditure of $50, $100 if you go all out and buy monitors and stuff. It is great to live in the future. All right, sorry. I am a technophile. I'm not a technophobe, a technophile. I just love technology and all the things that it does. All right, so I'm not alone here. I am on camera, but Scott Jernigan is the senior editor and co-author and author at Total Seminars. He is working the back channel here, answering questions, helping me identify things, doing research for me. I do the same thing for him and Mike on the Monday, Wednesday shows, and he does the same thing for Mike and sometimes he's just a many hat wearer, and he's not with us today because today is Friday, and Friday he and Mike have their weekly meeting with our publisher, and nice publisher people that they are, you can't get things done fast enough, and there are deadlines that they impose constantly, and Scott's staring down the barrel of a kind of a surprise deadline that he's got to work on that before this meeting and do some regular writing and so kudos to Scott for all the hats that he wears and all the work that he does. And he's got an upcoming project that's really going to detract from him. I'm going to try to help him as much as I can on that thing. Yeah, I'm the senior instructor, but he's going to go out and teach a class because that's the way logistics had to work out and some other issues. So there we are. Good guy to get to know. So it's an Ask Me Anything. As I said, ask anything you want, but maybe you're watching this on the archive. Maybe you have a long question. Maybe you're shy and you don't want to ask a question here on the YouTube communications channel. Well, you don't have to. There are other ways to get in contact with us. For instance, email. Nobody uses email anymore, right? Now I'm going to give you a reason to use email here in very short order, but here's a quick one. So if you've got a question, you've got a comment, you just want to talk to me or Scott or even Mike Myers himself, you can email me at daver@totalsem.com because I am Dave Rush and I work at Total Seminars. Or you can send it to my personal email, drushtx@yahoo. I answer to either of them. They're cross-linked. Don't send them to both. You can get in touch with Scott Jernigan at scottj@totalsem.com because he works at Total Seminars. And Michael Myers, owner, popular author, and alpha geek and big man himself, Michael Myers. Yes, you figured out his email. He's Michael M, and he works at totalseminars.com. So we all steam. You can find me at drushtx. You can find Scott at Scarheart. Mike is Senor Pepe, 2 words, SENOR. So let's see if there's anything worth covering over here that I need to talk about. I'm just reading my notes. Stand by. Oh, man. I got good news. I'm going to fill this in just a second, but I'll tease it right now. Special discounts are back. After much negotiations and pain and roundtabling and things like that, we have found a way that we can offer discount specials again. And I will tell you the discounts and the specials this week momentarily. So let's see who has been kind enough to join us. Siegfried came in an hour early. Greetings, Siegfried. We've done much conversation on Discord as well. Those of you not familiar with Discord, that means you're not watching me live, because everybody here watching live is a regular and is a regular on Discord channel as well. But we'll put some contact info up on that. Andrew Hutz and Alan Duggan are here, my 2 big A's. Oh, and Andre de Goyard. So AAA. I love that stuff. Together, you guys are AAA, the American Automobile Association, or you could just be AA. Oh, close that there. Scott checks in. Welcome to Friday. Dave will be on shortly, within a minute. So buckle up. I'll tell you, I'm an old pilot, and I live on checklists. And I built a couple months ago, I don't know, 3 or 4 months now, a checklist to get everything ready for it. All starts about an hour and a half or so before the show. And I'm always doing stuff before then, but then the checklist items have to come in. And the last few checklist items happen at 45 and 50 and 55 and 59. And I am just a blur at those times. Publishers meeting and we're scared, says Scott. You know what? He can't reach through the phone or the Zoom or whatever you guys meet with this day. So it's okay. Jason Helms, Dave Rush. Let's say you have an external hard drive and you know it's heavily infected, but you have critical files on there. How would you go about getting the files off without infecting the new drive? I had an idea, but I'm thinking about it. Oh, heck. I would plug it into a regular happy old Windows system. In fact, what I would do, if I really want to get safe about this, I would build a Windows system, just a cheapy, grubby old one, borrowed computer. And depending on the nature of that hard drive, if it's USB, if it's a SATA drive that's in a USB caddy, I might even pull that out of the USB and just insert this into the computer. No, I wouldn't. No, that's a pain. No. Keep it as external. So I would, if I really want to do this safely, you're going to want a better, cheaper answer, but this is the answer I'm given. I would build a fresh, shiny new install of Windows. And I would install a fresh, shiny new copy of your favorite anti-malware on there. Mike has done a number of anti-malware presentations, and one of the things that we have all agreed on among the tech weenies and nerds at Total Seminars is the best program that we are aware of for eradicating malware is Malwarebytes. We all love that. Everybody likes a different real-time monitor and stopping type program, but for fixing infections, Malwarebytes. So I'd have that on my shiny new install. Then I would plug that USB or external drive into the shiny new install, and I would run Malwarebytes on it. Totally scan the whole thing. Then I would pull off all of those files that you want and save them to the local machine. Unplug that external and do another Malwarebytes scan on the local machine. Don't open any of those files. Don't run any of those programs. Just pull them off on here. If you're not launching them, they're not going to do anything bad. So scan them again. And when you're happy, when the scan is good, you've got rid of everything, then take those same files that you've resurrected and recovered and copy them to another safe, shiny new external device, like a good size USB thumb drive or another different clean USB external drive. And there you've got safe as they can be, copies of the files. And now you can connect that to your live everyday Windows machine and put them where they need to be. That's what I would do if I really wanted the best that I could come up with. There's some shortcuts in there that are possible, but you will lose some of the safety and reliability. Patricia Grace is using email now more than ever. It's different. It may be a generational thing. I got a kid in college, and I communicate to some degree with his friends and people his age and people he grew up with. They don't use email. It's a royal pain for them. The university mandates that they have an email address, and they do send them information by that. So they have to for certain kinds of things. And old dad and mom, we sometimes send an email, so he's got to do that. But their electronic communication is very different and large than the way we do and did things. Andre's chasing it down. What did you do, Jason Helms? I super scrolled. There we go. All right. A geek gang. I must have slid over some. Sorry about that. I'm on live chat, so I'm not missing anything. I'm just sliding. Did you talk to Mike about my email? Asks Andre. Okay, not yet. Totally not here yet. Yeah, I saw him this morning on Discord, and he was chasing other people down. So we'll see how it goes. He'll get up here when he gets up. All right, time mark 2:09. Reading messages. Jesus up, says Andrew Hutz, and Jason is checking in with pesky websites. Mike's partner, the business side of our business guy, came to me one day a few years ago with his wife's laptop, and he said, "Here's your project. The missus let the kids play on this laptop during the afternoon, and it was so infected with shopware and grayware and stuff like that. It took me 2 days to get rid of all that stuff." Yes, Andre, thank you for the reminder, everybody. Guys, don't forget that like button. I haven't clicked it yet, so watch the count go up. Click right now. I know it's not real time for you. You might see it in a moment. So as you know, we don't monetize this thing. We're not making any money off it. Just I got the green light the other day to put all of my indices that I've been creating for all these shows up. We've had some of them up, and then we kind of stopped because of a manpower shortage issue. But I still make the indices, and I got the green light to start putting them back up again. So that and the thumbs up is really going to help people find things. Like today, somebody's going to look for Raspberry Pi and OpenCV, and they'll find a few really horrible documents out there and websites and tutorials. In the end, I found one good, and it was really good tutorial. So now there's 2 really good ones. Hit that thing. Jane Slayer, greetings, my friend. My friendette in location that. As I already gave you information, your friend, or I don't know if you're a friend or friendette, but we'll see. Anyways, Dave Rush, I got my schedule changed, so I'm not at work on Fridays anymore. Wonderful. Glad to have you here again. It's nice to see you. And Jane Slater talks to Scott. I got a processor to get the silicon lasered away. I like that. Inside we're a bunch of wires. Is that what the processor is? Wires leading to the quartz crystal. All right, that's a conversation you've got going on with Scott, but there's no quartz crystal inside a CPU. It's outside the CPU, but there's multipliers made out of silicon inside. But all those wires inside a CPU, they go to various circuits in the CPU. There's the cache circuits in there. There's the pipelines. There's power. There's PCIe connections. There's the memory controller. It's all kinds of little goodies. That's why sockets have names like 1151 and 1366 and 2011. That's actually how many pins or wires are in that thing frequently, not always. That's all I got. I did get a message that we're not certain if this is a response to an old email that you might have sent. So you may want to send a follow-up email on that again, or send it to me, Dave R at totalsem.com, and I can help out. There we go. It's malware bytes or malware bytes. Thank you for the pun. Integrated circuit. Okay, Scott's answering an IC question. Andrew Hutz, I found some sim labs for Blue Team earlier. Wonderful. I know you asked Mike that, and he didn't have an answer, and none of the rest of us did. I was going to, if somebody asked me that question, I would have sent them to you because you are much more in tune and current with things like that. So that's another great thing for your blog. Things that I have found, tools that I have found to learn hacking and things of that nature. All right, that gets me up on questions. Let me go through some notes here. Let's talk about today's special deal. And Scott, I listened to Mike the other day as he described this and walked away with my head shaking. So I have the textual representation of it, and I'm going to start with that. This week's AMA Q&A special is available on Mike's show. It's available on my show. It goes to the week. So Mike starts it on Monday and it ends the following Sunday, 2 days after my show. So if you're watching this show right now, you got till Sunday. I don't know if that means Sunday midnight or what, but AMA specials this week, 50% off any CompTIA Total Tester bundle. That's the text that I got from the message. So I don't know if this counts for just a standalone test or if it's a pre-compiled bundle. The bundle I got in parentheses here says practice test, comma, sims. So put some loot and go to totalsem.com, put some loot in your basket and apply the secret code, one word, fireworks, FIREWORKS at checkout and see if it applies and if it worked. And I'll try and get some clarification from Scott. What I got from Mike is that if you bundle a practice test with any of our other products, you get 50% off, but that don't sound right. Okay, I got my back message here, Total Tester plus Sims bundles. That's what he's got out of it too. Okay, so looks like you got to buy a Sim package and a Total Tester package, then apply the fireworks secret code. Let me post that up here. Hey, there it is. And then we do this, and then we do, why do I have that there? That's a weird thing. Oh, okay. All right, so there we go. AMA special of the week, 50% off CompTIA Total Tester bundles. That's practice tests and sims. There's the code fireworks. When you check out, go to www.totalsem.com. It's good through Sunday, July 11th. And we are getting into midsummer. That means school is going to be starting up again. And I believe that Mike and Kathy still have the doors open to help out teachers who are teaching CompTIA-oriented classes. They got some good stuff, some great deals, some beyond great deals. So if you or anybody you know is a teacher who will be teaching, is teaching now or will be teaching these topics in the fall, by all means, contact Kathy Y at totalsem.com. That's Kathy Yale. And that. Okay, what else we got here? Okay, did that. Project. No, I cannot do what I'm thinking right now. The project today is using a program called OpenCV. We're going to use, OpenCV is generic. It runs on tons of platforms. Linux distros primarily. You can also run on Windows. You can even run it on Android phones and tablets, which I haven't experimented with, so I don't know anything about that. But there is a piece of today's that is an optimizer program to run on Raspberry Pi 3, and there's a similar but slightly different app that runs on Raspberry Pi 4, does that optimization. But most of what we do today can be done on just about any Linux distro. So you don't need a Raspberry Pi. If you got a virtual machine, run an Ubuntu. You can run this in here. You are going to need a camera. And then again, not really. OpenCV has the ability to detect content from still image files or still images from a camera or moving images from a camera. And I guess while I'm at it, moving images from a file. So you got an MP4, you can feed that through to OpenCV and it will do its magic. So we'll get into what OpenCV is and does as things go on. I have today's show, my notes, my pictures, my PDFs, and there's a lot of them for today, saved on the pirsquare.zapto.org website, which has been up and running since late last night. I'll run it until late tonight. And I will do this two ways. I will. Man, for somebody who loves technology, I'm not very good at it sometimes. All right. I've changed things up a little bit on the website too to make it a little bit easier to navigate. Some of the text and links got buried into some closely low contrast colors. So the contrast problem is kind of resolved for today. I'm not thrilled with what I got up there, but it works a heck of a lot better than what I did. So if you go to pirsquare.zapto.org, and I will post that unless Scott feels like posting it in the chat feed. You can go there, go to the downloads page, and you'll find the archives of all the documents that I've ever done on all of these shows. I think there's two of them that we were just talking, and I didn't do a program that day, so those aren't there, but you get the idea. And let's put this happy little link. Oh, I got it here. It's a much better place. No, not there. Over here. Show links. There it is. All right, the present time is 2:27. And that's when I posted the archive. And let's also get this next one ready to post. So you've watched Mike's AMA, you've watched Dave and Scott's drama, and you just can't get enough. You want more. You want to talk to these people directly. You want to talk to other people who hang around and talk with these people directly. You can do that because there is a Discord server called the Unofficial Total Seminars Discord server or channel, whatever it is. And we hang out there. And lots of other folks hang out there. They got about, they're over 300 people. It's really turned into something of a server there. Originally, Jose Braden, our good friend, started this up to talk about the show. And then, hey, people are hanging out. Let's talk about what was talked about during the show. And then it grew and let's study together. And I got a problem with my computer and I'm learning Linux and I'm learning Linux Plus and I'm trying this thing with a Raspberry Pi. So there's people who are logged in 24 hours a day. We would like you to join us as well. And I just posted two links, either of which should get you there today. These change every week. Hey, let's bring that page up too. And you can join us on, there it is, Discord links. And then we click this and click this and click this. And finally this. So if you go to either of these links, they will either work or they won't. It's the way it is with all the Discord servers. As soon as you get an invite or a link to it and you go there, it says this link has expired. That's okay. On that page somewhere is a continue anyway button or link, and that'll get you in. We're picking up a good number of people every week. We hope you'll join us. I'll be on after the show. Mike and Scott are frequently on after their shows and sometimes after mine with mics and cameras. And if you'll join us with a mic and or camera, we will talk to you face to face and find out what you look like. And you can have a direct interchange. But if not, that's fine. Come in and just text messages. We can either talk back to you or we'll text back to you. And again, the thing is operational 24 hours a day. I was going to bed at 2:30 this morning, doing the last touches on today's show. And Some of the people who are regulars there were just waking up over in Europe, saying good morning as I was saying good night. But there's always somebody there. It's a good thing. Okay, both of those links that I had displayed up here are shown in the YouTube chat, just about 2:30 my time, 30 minutes past the beginning of the show. How's that? All right, where we been, where we're going. So last week we were sticking with a theme, and that was doing stuff that has objectives in all three of the trifecta certifications, A+, Net+, and Security+. And we were working with NetStat. That was a very popular episode. The after show contacts were very large compared to a lot of the recent ones. So I'm glad you enjoyed that one. What we're doing today is moving out of most of the direct objectives for CompTIA classes. I have kind of looked at the trajectory of objectives over the last 20 years of CompTIA, and I'm kind of doing something that I'm not very good at, and that is putting myself in the role of the futurist. Specifically, what is happening in the world of computing that CompTIA, that I believe CompTIA will include in near future releases of exams and objectives. And I believe that one of the burgeoning technologies that we are experiencing now and is growing by leaps and bounds is machine learning and artificial intelligence. And I thought I would like to expose everybody, including myself, to the technology behind that. And so I'm calling this episode OpenCV. There's a lot more going on with this process than OpenCV and that we're going to use. But OpenCV, which is open source computer vision, in fact, it's OpenCVL, open source computer vision library, is this thing that says we're going to use visual input. Again, maybe it's the contents of a still file or the contents of a video file or live contents. Take a still from a camera or video from a camera and send that to OpenCV, and OpenCV and will work with other modules to figure out what's going on in there and cull out information that we want. So we're going to do a simple exercise today. We're going to use an exercise that can identify fingers on a hand, which fingers are up. Be very careful here, slinging fingers around. Let's see, I did the Spock thing, hook 'em horns, whatever. So it's going to identify, first of all, count how many fingers are up, and then it's going to identify pinky, ring, middle, index. And there's a lot of moving parts to that. So that's, and I'll show you the moving parts as we get into it. It's a lot of fun. It's very interesting. There, for the most part, is no direct corollary objectives in any of the trifecta classes at this time, or trifecta exam objectives. But there is one that's kind of sort of related. There's artificial intelligence attacks in Security+. So all this stuff leads to artificial intelligence, and we will use machine learning and artificial intelligence, a very lightweight version of that, to accomplish this task. And I'm going to show you 3 or 4 more other common things that are done with this. News, tricks, and techniques of the week. So I figured out last week while we were looking at this that we got an anniversary show coming up. And technically it would be the last Friday in this month, but for reasons that I'll get into later, we're not going to celebrate the show, the anniversary, on that day. We're going to do it the following week, Friday, August 6th. It's going to be an amazing show. I don't know what the content's going to be. I'll figure out, I'll make a blockbuster, or it'll be really boring, but it's one that you want because I got the green light on giveaways. So I'm going to be giving away some stuff that Mike does all the time, his Total Testers, and I got Raspberries to give away. Huzzah! If it's possible for us to get one to you. Here in the US, we got you covered. In the UK, we got you covered. We're going to use Amazon UK. In the EU, we'll see what we can work out. If we can't get you a pie, we will get you something of equivalent value, and hopefully you can use that to get a pie in your own neck of the woods. So very excited. I got the wheels churning already. I got the green light this morning, and I had stuff ready to go in hopes that we would get the approval. We got it, and I already started sending out pre-notifications. Do I want to give this away? Yeah. All right. So I'm not doing contests the way Mike is going to do them. I'm going to provide the information to this next part, starting with next week's show. We are going to have a special email address that you must use to pre-register as a contestant. And you're going to send me an email to this account, and it's going to have all the info that we need to select you as a winner and to ship it to you. So we're going to need your YouTube moniker and your real email address and a shipping address and your name. And then the way it's going to work, at least this is the tentative plan, and this will solidify in the next few days, but everybody seems to be on board on this one, is just before the show, I'm going to lock that database of content out. In fact, it's going to be the day before the show, because that night I've got to turn all those emails into a cohesive database of stuff. And then I'm going to, during the show, periodically draw a name from the proverbial hat. And I'm going to call for you and say, hey, I got an email here, a contestant email from Andre de Goyert. Andre de Goyert, are you here? And because winner must be present for these. And if Andre posts in, yes, right now I'm here. Okay, Andre, you have won this prize. And we'll note that down. So you don't have to contact Kathy or anything like that. I'm going to have everything that I need ready to go. All I got to do is put a check mark beside your name that you were here, and off we go. So I have multiple pies to give away. I got multiple total testers. I don't know what else yet, and I haven't picked a show, but we're going to turn my anniversary show into a hootenanny. Yaha. I got really disappointing news today. More news and stuff. In Euro 2021 news, the finals are going to be this Sunday. It's England versus Italy. And while I don't find soccer, it's not my cup of mud, but I don't dislike it. I actually do watch it during finals and during exciting opportunities. But I thought, oh, cool. That takes care of Zach and Alex. And so I'm mentioning that to Scott when we were talking earlier today. And he said, man, that's great. I know where I'm going to be. He's going to be watching the game on Sunday. Zach and Alex, probably not. Our UK representative and our Italian representative, neither of whom have much interest in, okay, football, if you want to call it that. But for anybody who does care, the finals this Sunday, Wembley Stadium, London, July 11th. And I had the time written down in, it was 7 p.m. GMT. Okay, did that. Website's up. Don't care. Sweet. All right, I am done with all of my outline until we get to the project. We're going to do 2 projects today. One, just a quickie little thing, and I got a story here that, time permitting, I'm going to tell, but we're going to get done on time. It's really fun. It's really interesting. So back to notes and contents, picking up at 2:16. And as soon as I touched it, it super scrolled. All right, 2:18. Integrated circuits, there's lots of transistors and we're in the other. So if you slice the CPU thinly enough, you might see the transistors. You need a scanning electron microscope to see a transistor in a CPU now. They have literally, if they're not at billions, they are approaching billions in high-powered ones. Okay, so I got ahead of that one. There's 219 when Andre was talking about he found Blue Team Sims. All right, Jane Slayer at 221. I fell down a rabbit hole for raspberry clusters, and I was curious, why would you cluster pies? What would you need them to process? Why would they prefer to a single processor? Okay, the reason that you would cluster 30 billion plus transistors in the latest, highest end AMD, 39 billion. Thank you, Scott. Oh my, so yeah, I understand them holistically now, but I have not gotten into their guts in several years. So, man, thank you, Scott. Good research. Okay, why would you cluster Pis? Well, for the same reason that you would cluster any other type of computer. Clustered computers work in their ideal sense cooperatively on a single project. So for instance, we did a cluster exercise here. I've got 3 shows where we did how to make your own cluster here. Hang on, let me look at that so you can go chase them down in the archive. Yeah, there we go. It was on February 5th, February 12th, and February 19th. We built a cluster using Raspberry Pi OSs. There's other ways and different types of clusters that you can make. Michael Smyer is checking in on the back channel. That's unreal. So he wasn't, and he's really up to date on these kind of minutia things. So, all right. So one of the things that you can do is, let's say I want to calculate the highest value of pi. Well, I can turn one computer loose on that, right? But it makes a lot more sense to turn multiple computers loose on it. And what we'll do is we'll have them report to each other. I've calculated up to this. So some other computer says, okay, well, I'll start working from here to here, and I'll start working from here to here. And it's not the computers that make that decision, it's the programmer. But it's anytime we want to do, usually, intense calculations of some sort or another. And we want to do it in such a way that it's not a single computer doing it. It's a bunch of computers working collaboratively and cooperatively to come up with that stuff. So it's a really, really fun thing to do. I encourage you to do it. The lab that I did was designed for 3, but adding more to that is 45 minutes worth of work for each new one that you want to add. And maybe you could even streamline that around. I've done another kind of cluster that I haven't done with the shows yet, using, instead of Raspberry Pi OS, which is a 32-bit operating system, I set up Kubernetes clusters using Ubuntu, the 64-bit operating system that was designed to run on Raspberry Pis. And so up there on top of my handy dandy little pile here is a pair of 5 computer clusters that are always doing something up there. Sometimes all they're doing is making a little bit of heat in the room, but it's a fun experiment. So yeah, depending on, and of course, one of the really cool things, raggedy schmat, is the more cores that you, let's call it this way, the more powerful the CPU, the more powerful the cluster is. And so Raspberry Pi's current version of them have 4 cores. Each core can be working as a collaborative cluster machine. So my 5er up there, is there 5 or 6 on the one? That's 5. I've actually got 20 computers in that cluster when you consider the fact that there are independent cores working on it. I missed the other part of this conversation where Andrew, oh yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, that was 221. Yeah, good thing. Andrew, I hope that, I would love to read that. 224, Jane Slayer talking to Scott. Jane Slayer also talking to Scott. Next message. 227, my link to the PyR Square Zapto.org server. Gabriel R. Hey, Gabriel, good to see you. Taking CompTIA Core 1 this weekend. I'm not ready. What makes you say you're not ready? So the way to know if you're ready is to take a practice test. Ideally, take one of Mike Meyer's total tester practice tests and let that be your guide, first of all, to areas that you know and areas that you need to brush up on. Now, it's pretty late to brush up, right? So the other thing that you can do at this late in the game, if you're pretty ready, you know, if you're not just first exposed and said, oh, this is a book on CompTIA A+, I should read that. But if we're a little farther along than that, or you're a little farther along than the videos, then crank practice test questions, our practice test questions. We don't have the same questions that you're going to see on CompTIA, but we got ones that are really, 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 really close. And there are a lot of folks who have been marginal on their preparation, but who have knocked out of the ballpark studying our practice test questions and pass the test, right? And that's what it's all about. Pass that test. Oh man, big peal of thunder just rolled by. It's been happening here on and off all day. Somebody lost power nearby. So if I lose power and I'm not back in 5 minutes, I won't be coming back. How's that? And we'll push off till next week. Moving on to 27. Okay. Yep. Good luck, Gabriel. This is going to super scroll. I can feel it. Oh, here's how we fix that. Okay. So I got the Discord links at 227. I started course 2 weeks too late. Too much information to absorb in a month with 2 to 3 hour classes per week. Okay. It's hard to cram a lot of information in, that much information for girl one in a day. But if you don't need to sleep for the next 20 hours, Jane talking to Scott at 2:31. Machine learning as in data science. Yes, machine learning as in data science. You came to the right show today, man. Raspberry giveaways, eh? Oh, yeah. I know you're going to be here. We can ship to Philadelphia. Audrey needs a pie. All right, you're going to have to go pick it up from Zach. I'm not sure we can get them to the Netherlands. I need them for reasons. Let's see, 237. Scott says ITF doesn't do much at that level. Okay, so he's talking to Jane Slayer. That sounds smiley face with glasses. I love the glasses emoji. Am I taking electrical engineering course? Oh, Andrew's asking Jane Slayer. Okay. England, good luck. Let's go England. All right. Whoever you guys like. I don't know why you guys are all so against Alice, but you know, I'll take that as your for Zach, and that's okay. Scott doesn't care about football. He cares about soccer. Hey, TGIF, Algie. Algie's here. Okay. Yeah, we spoke on Wednesday. Good to see you again, sir. David Mohan, World Cup next year. We can see USA in the mix. Perhaps. We certainly had players in it, right? Jane Slayer talks to Andrew. Electrical engineering is a super cool field. It's one of my twos. I majored in physics and electrical engineering. Yes, Dave Rush. So you could use cluster pies to crack hashes faster. Yes, you could. No, you can't. You can't crack hashes. Hashes are uncrackable. They are one-way functions. However, you could use them to generate hashes much more quickly and use them with rainbow tables and dictionaries. But you can't crack a hash. Dave Rush. So anything that is a computing process could be done either by clustered or by very robust multi-core CPUs like video. Okay, absolutely when it comes to video rendering. So when I say anything, that's a toughie. For instance, the first thing that I come to mind that's when I'm thinking about how would multiple computers work together to make a process faster? Or what's a process that I might like faster? Well, a slow web server, right? Well, we can get computers working together in a quasi-collaborative fashion to run web servers, but they don't work in the same way that we do mathematical calculations. And so not everything, I think, benefits from a clustered approach, but the obvious things like math cracking, password hacking, things like that. Sure. Again, that's math. Simulation creation, right? They use clustered computers all the time to try to simulate Big Bang. What did it look like? And it's a fascinating science. Someday in another world, we'll talk about that in depth. Is there a way to encrypt at 244, says JM Ramiro? Is there a way to encrypt my files on a standard version of Windows 10? I don't want to upgrade to Windows Pro. There are third-party disk encryption utilities. First one comes to mind. I know this is used in Linux platforms. I think it's available for Windows, but I'm not 1,000% sure on that. And that would be VeraCrypt. But I would look up third-party disk encryption on your favorite search engine, and you will find a ton of products out there. Be careful. Whenever you're encrypting an entire disk, you're adding a new layer of, oh my gosh, I forgot, or this became corrupt, and decorrupting, uncorrupting, and encrypt the disk is a lot more complicated and sometimes not possible than decorrupting an unencrypted disk. Andre will be on his phone at the very least. And David Mohan, during incident response, what is the help desk responsible for chain of custody? Well, incident response, there are some predefined steps that have to be done. Step number one is to stop the process. So we need a first responder, and the duties of that first responder are spelled out by NIST 800 standards and then customized by the standards of the organization and sometimes by law. Where does the help desk come in? They may very well be one of the detectors of the incident. Maybe somebody at help desk is taking a call or visiting a host to solve a problem or to help somebody out, and they say, hey, wait a minute, this is a violation of whatever policy, procedure, law. And at that point, it's the job of help desk to contact a first responder. Maybe they are a first responder, and at that point they might say, okay, I'm going to work on this, please step away from this computer, or whatever the policy and practice is called for. Chain of custody is documentation. That's really what it all comes down to, and that's what you're going to find on CompTIA exams very clearly. So when somebody takes possession of something that is evidence, it's evidence until somebody says it's not. At that point, it becomes secured and a document gets created. What was taken, what was custody, what was taken into custody, when, who took it into custody, any significant notes that are necessary, had to power it off, left it on, and I am just holding it until the next level of support gets here. So again, it's going to be up to the organization that is creating this response, this incident response activity, to define what's going to be in chain of custody. Is first responder usually a senior technician? No. First responder is whoever is designated and trained to do the job. And a lower level technician could very easily be a first responder. Maybe their job as first responder is to do nothing more than to unplug the computer from the network and to tell the operator to step away and then escalate to the next level responder. So no, it's not necessarily a senior technician. All right, that gets me caught up on the feed at 252. So what do we got here? 252. I want to do a couple quickie things. I was going to bore you with a couple of stories here. I won't. But I will tell you that this week, I'm going to tell you one of them. It's a little bit long, but I had 4 major adventures this week with troubleshooting. Some of them were self-inflicted. Some of them are things that have been long-standing, and I finally got going. And I'm 4 for 6, and the other 2, I am not going to be able to repair. I'm going to wind up having to blow away a micro SD card and do a fresh install on it. That's on my Volumio box. But I have solved the cause of its original problem. I just can't fix the problem that was generated. It was underpowered. I was using a 2.4 amp 5-volt power supply to power a Pi, which works fine, and to power the attached 7-inch touchscreen. And there's just not enough power in a 2.4 amp power supply to pull that off. So I got a 3 amp one that did the trick. I don't have low power messages anymore, but the corruption is the corruption, and I've dealt with it. I'm going to have to fix it. But I do want to tell you about one of the other 3 that I fixed. I did fix something in that one. that was a total stupidity problem. And that was today's project. Today's project, I started on Monday night. I looked all over Monday for the tutorial that I was going to base this on. And this all got triggered from a thing that I encountered over a week ago. A gentleman did an OpenCV project and posted the results of the project on a site that I frequent. And I said, oh man, I want to do that. In fact, as I recall, I found this like 3 weeks ago. And I corresponded with him a little bit, but it was all mostly about, love your project. You've posted good resources. So I'm going to use those if you don't mind and present this on a show. And he gave me the thumbs up, and so cool. So Monday I started the project. His part of it is the last part. He wrote some code that takes the output and makes it visible and interesting to us. To put all the other stuff together, I couldn't find a tutorial, and more importantly, I couldn't find an installable OpenCV package in the Raspberry Pi repository. So what I did is I found a tutorial that talks you through where to get all the source files and how to configure them and compile them and install them. So that's the project that I started on Monday night. I wrote my notes and my outlines for about 4 hours, and I did this project for 7 hours because the compile on this thing takes 3 to 4 hours alone. And the other projects, or the other steps, there's 30 or 40 steps in there, and some of them are notably time consuming. But they were all working, and I'm writing away trying to figure out how I'm going to tell you to do this, and let you know we're not going to be doing this together in real time. It's all done in advance for you. But okay, so I got that done. I've been working on it for 7 hours. It's late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning. But that part's done. It's a 3-phase project. You got to get OpenCV installed. Then you have to get another package installed called MediaPipe. And this particular tutorial had it in there. So I went to start the steps of that, and the first step failed. I said, look, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm done. I'm going to bed. So next night, after work is done, I got started on it again and got fail after fail after fail after fail. And every failure, I would go and do research and look at the error messages and try to find people who posted those same error messages. And after a few hours of this, I said to myself, self, we are not going to be able to do this project. It is obviously doable. There are smart people out there who have accomplished this. I just haven't found it. And I'm going to start researching an alternative to OpenCV. So while I'm kind of researching and thinking and going through my notes about future ideas, I'm still doing some half-hearted research on the problem. And I ran across a page that was a beautiful looking tutorial that had the thing boiled down to 3 steps, including the one step that took care of the whole 7 hours. And I said, this has got to be too good to be true, right? But I took the same machine that I've been working with and I said, well, let's just try it. And I fired it up, and it took 9 minutes and everything loaded up. No error messages, no nothing. Hey, let's try those other 2 steps. And they didn't take too long either. And I finally got the 3 steps done. And so now all I got to do is load the other gent's code and give it a stab and see if the thing works. So I did that, launched it, and wango tango slamma jamma, it just came right up like gangbusters. I said, cool, I got a new project, a new way to rewrite this. And so I blew away all my old notes, and I said to myself, self, you may have heard me say that before. I got to know if these 3 steps weren't helped in some way by all that other stuff that I had done before then. So I'm going to have to delete, undo these 3 steps, and then undo that 7 hours worth of junk that I did before. So that was my project that night. Sudo apt remove this, sudo apt remove that. And after I went through about 15 of those, some of them were poking up errors that said, I can't delete this package because because I had to leave some things in some of the directories that were there. Okay, I will start over and use a more aggressive package removal command that will definitely take out any associated files. And so I got started and I'm 6 or 7 removals into it. And then in the background, I saw on my Raspberry Pi the wallpaper change. And I didn't pay it much attention. I thought it might be because I've been working on the Pi for so long or whatever. But I finally get that stuff all gone and all done. And now I got to go back to the desktop and started from scratch. And there was nothing on the desktop. There was no menus. There was no nothing. I had clearly deleted a directory that smoked something that took care of the graphical user interface. So I killed the next hour and a half or so trying to recover that. I tried all kinds of really cool things and sneaky little tricks that I know. And I know a way to have done it, but it would have taken hours and hours and hours. And so in the end, I said, well, look, I didn't want to do this presentation on a shiny new installation of Raspberry Pi. I wanted to show you that it could be done on an old one that's been running for years. You know, it gets regular updates, but that suddenly became an impossibility. So I did a fresh install of Raspberry Pi. I did the 3 commands, basically 3 commands, loaded the code in and came right up. So that was my many-houred adventures in undoing and learning this technology. I learned a lot about the technology as I was on the way. All right, so that's my adventure crisis big story of the week. There were 2 other similar crises of fixing wacky things that have been problematic for a long time, but I shan't bore you with those. What I shall bore you with is project number 1 called Fixing the Camera over VNC. So this particular, I told that story for a reason. This particular Pi is the Pi that I have my little mini Raspberry Pi camera installed in, and it's the one that I want to and need to use for this exercise. This is the same one that we did with Raspberry Pi Cam show 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so I said, well, let me test that and make sure that it works. And I ran Raspberry still -T0, and I couldn't see anything happen. In fact, I want to show that to you right now. Let me bring up my sharer here. Yeah, okay, I didn't typo that. Click this, share that. How are we doing on time? It's right on the hour. That's okay. Because all we got to do is go through 3 steps and load some code. All right, you may recall from our episode a few weeks ago that there is a command called Raspberry still that takes still pictures using your Raspberry Pi Cam. And if we use the -D, it won't take a picture, but it'll show me 5 seconds of live video. So I hit the enter key on here. Oh, dang it, I turned it on. You're not supposed to have been able to see anything. All right, hang on, let's fix. I'm going to undo what I fixed. I did a test earlier and show you what's going to happen when you do a shiny new installation of a Raspberry Pi Cam. It'll work fine if you're working with a direct connected monitor. But if you're using VNC, let's run this command again, Raspberry still D, you don't see anything. And that's what happened to me. And I tried a whole bunch of other flags and tests. What I usually do when I want to watch continuous video without making a file is I'll say -T space 0. And that will just bring up an image, a video in real time live forever. But nothing happening here. And I've had that camera running in there for years, literally over 3 years, maybe 4. And so I thought, well, okay, I did a fresh install. Maybe there's something different about Raspberry still. Maybe there's something about the newest, latest, greatest operating system. So I don't need that camera for this week's episode. The other thing works and it does its own camera imaging techniques that we can see. So I let it go and went to bed. But the next morning it bothered me. It's got to work. I got to make it work. So I started doing some research and I ran across research that I had to do 4 years ago and I'd forgotten about. And that is that the problem is with VNC. The way it reads the video output of Raspberry Pi is done differently for the camera than it is done for backgrounds and all the things that you see. So to fix that, this is something I didn't bring up because I'd forgotten about it when we did the Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Still and Raspberry Vid show. You do this. I got my VNC connection here. You can see I got a VNC icon up here in the upper right corner. So I click it one time. This menu comes up. I click the hamburger menu here, and a pull down menu pops up. Select options. And then in a very funny place, over here on the left side, we're going to select troubleshooting. And all we have to do is click this top box that says enable direct capture mode and apply it. And now when we do Raspberry -D, you saw this already work correctly. This is a really nice one because you don't have to I'm going to repoint my camera here. You don't have to reboot or anything like that. So let me run this in full-time, real-time, and get the camera kind of re-aimed. It's going to fall, I know, and it's going to be a total waste. Okay, that's a good point for that. Okay, so if you're trying to VNC and look at your Raspberry Pi camera or USB camera through VNC, that's what you have to do. It's a one-time thing. All right, that's project number one, done. So project number two. Whoops, that's not what I want to see. This is what I want to see. Going through my notes. OpenCV, open source computer vision library. If you're going to do machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence that looks at things and reacts accordingly, makes data points and passes those data points to a video screen, to a control computer, to whatever, it starts with OpenCV. It's what captures an image, and then it uses a couple of other modules to perform some basic intelligence function that says, I can figure out the difference between a hand and a ham sandwich or a glass of iced tea. And then there's programming that has to be done that says, okay, we're looking at a hand. Now, how do we identify data points on a hand? We're going to use one that says there's a point at the wrist, and there's a point and a point and a point. And then we're going to do a web line here with a point at each of the connecting joints, and then point, point, point. You get the idea. And once we've got those data points captured, now we've got to send them someplace to an artificial intelligence engine to say, what do you want to do with this stuff? Do you want to display it? Do you want to interpret it? Do you want to say, oh, wait a minute, this is an actuator that's out of position. I'm supposed to react by closing that actuator and turning on that actuator. Or maybe I'm supposed to do a whole system shutdown, whatever. So OpenCV is where this whole process starts. We also need a module called Media Pipe. That's going to take data points and send them to the output, to the artificial intelligence machine, to video, to a controller computer, whatever. We need an artificial intelligence machine. There's a lightweight version of a very, very popular one called TensorFlow built into OpenCV. So we'll be taking advantage of that. And then finally, there is code that says, all right, now, we're sending this data point somewhere. What do we want the system to do with those data points? Display them graphically, send them, or tell the controller to react this way or that way or whatever. So our exercise today, our primary exercise is going to be one that can identify a hand, can identify how many fingers are raised, and can identify which fingers are raised. So we can label this one index, middle finger, ring finger, pinky, whatever the case may be. Do I want to show you that now? Sure. I'm going to put a link in the YouTube feed to media pipe. That's over here. Okay, time is 9 minutes after the second hour of the show, 3:09 my time. And media pipe is the thing that passes data back and forth between capture devices and output devices or programs or whatever. And they have a lot of pre-built code that can extract data and data points from videos and display them in a neat graphical way. And take a look at that. I'll show you that in greater detail later when we get toward the end here. All right, I covered that. I'm going to get into the project here. Cancel the above tutorial using this one. Okay, so this is what I want to show you. I want to show you the tutorial that I'm using. It's at a website called PyPI, pypi.org. I'm going to call this tutorial site. There we go. Save that. And let me throw that up on the slide viewer real quick. Did that send? Yes. All right. This is the link that I just posted on the YouTube feed, pypi.org, whack project, whack media pipe -rpi4. This works fine on an rpi3. The instructions to adjust for rpi3 are there. All right. Past all this junk. Okay, so here's me I'm into my notes on the project now. A little bit about them. Let's see, did I cover all this stuff? Yeah, I did all the precursor stuff. So the project starts with hardware, right? We're going to need a Raspberry Pi. You can do this with a 3 or a 4. 4 with more memory is better, stronger, faster, smoother. But I'm doing it purposely on a 3 today to show you that a 3 is pretty good. I'm using a 16 gig micro SD card. 32 would be better. But again, I'm just trying to show you how you can do this with a minimalist configuration. You need a power supply. You need a connection to the internet to download the programs, of course. And you do this with Raspberry Pi OS. It doesn't have to be a shiny, fresh, new installation, but it does need to be current, updated, and upgraded. We're going to do one for reasons explained with a shiny new install. Of course, you need a Raspberry Pi camera installed. I didn't test it with USB, but I believe it works fine with no alterations because I've seen other folks out there who've done this. There's similar exercises, and I know they use USB cameras. I don't know if there's any special steps. Okay, so did that. Works best. Now, if I'm really going to do this, if I want to get serious about this, I will do this on an 8 gig Raspberry Pi 4 that's overclocked to the max on both CPU and GPU and has a good cooling solution like my favorite Ice Tower. But again, I'm doing this on a Pi 3. It's in an enclosure. It hasn't overheated with any of these things that I've done. It's a little slow. You'll see that it's going to be behind the times, kind of like watching something on a 5-second delay, but it works. So the process is start with power off, install your camera. We did an episode on that on June 18th on how to install a Raspberry Pi camera. And on the week before, we did on installing and using USB cameras. Once that's installed, power up your Pi. And let me show you this part. Sorry, looking for something. There it is. Okay, that's still working. So we go to there, then we go to here. Stop it. After your camera is installed, you have to enable it. And we do that by going to the upper left-hand corner and clicking on the Applications Raspberry icon. and we'll go down to preferences, and you'll go down to Raspberry Pi configuration. I'm just hovering over these until I get this last one. I'm going to click on Raspberry Pi configuration. And we're going to go to the interfaces, and you have to enable the camera interface. It will be disabled by default. So you'll click it, you'll OK it. And then it's going to say, you've made a change that requires a reboot. Do you want to reboot now? Unless you got something else going on that you need to close. Yes, reboot and then reestablish your VNC connection. Or if you're just working instead of over the net with VNC, if you're just working with keyboard and mouse and monitor directly connected, when it comes up, you're ready to continue. Otherwise, when it comes up, reestablish your connection with VNC. Okay. Yeah, I'll leave that up and running for a second here, because I think we can do everything else with me staying off camera. When it comes back up, if you are not currently updated, run your old friend. Let's copy and paste this. Oh, if you do that, I would start doing that. I don't want to hit the enter key on here. Control C. You can do this as 2 commands. Sudo apt update, enter, and let it do updating. And then sudo apt -y upgrade, or it'll prompt you. Do you sure you want to do an upgrade? Yes. Or you can do this as I always do it on one line. Sudo apt update, double ampersand, sudo apt -y upgrade. And that takes as long as it takes. I did them this week. There's been nothing new to come on. And so they were all done within about 6 or 7 minutes. All right, the Pi is prepped. The hardware is prepped. The operating system is prepped. I got an internet connection. So I'm ready to turn this thing into an OpenCV system. We start by opening up a terminal session, which I've got going on here already. Fine. Every time I go and update this screen, I lose my other one. I got to go back to it. Sorry about that. My notes. Now, I have this all shiny and installed. This whole process, if you follow my step-by-step in my outline when you download this, or if you just do this with me, it takes 15 minutes. The first step takes about 2, the next one takes about 9, and the rest takes the rest of the time. So all I'm going to do is just show you the 3 steps. You can get all of these steps from that tutorial that I showed you as well. But I like mine better because it's got explanations and notes and tells you how long each thing is going to take and so forth. But the first line that we're going to put in is sudo apt install. I have this tendency to add -y, and then it's going to install 2 programs. And this explains how badly my system was screwed, or what my problem happened. So we got ffmpeg and Python 3 -OpenCV. When I went looking in the repository for an OpenCV package, I assumed that if it existed, it would start with OpenCV. And my assumption was wrong. The OpenCV package for the Raspberry Pi that supports Python starts with Python 3. ffmpeg is a video transcoder. It can also be used for playback, but it takes data of one sort, video data of one sort, and converts it to video data of another sort. So it takes about 1.5 minutes for that to download those 2 packages, and then another 6 to 7 minutes for it to actually install those. You can do that now. It'll all be done by the time I'm done with this, but you'll be able to do the other 2 commands. They're real quick, and you'll be ready to do this biz if you got your camera up and working. Okay, so we did that. ffmpeg, common video rendering. It's good for transcoding, can be used for playback, and it will be used, in our case, as the output display that we're going to overlay our data points on. MediaPipe is going to send the OpenCV output to that. MediaPipe, the problem that I had in my original project was I was unable to install MediaPipe after I installed OpenCV. The savior of this package is that MediaPipe is built into that Python 3 -OpenCV package. So cool, we're done. MediaPipe is installed too. So now we've got 2 more commands. One of them is long and painful and ugly and evil looking, It's a command that's going to install a whole bunch of support packages. Show you what it looks like without the enter key. So it's going to sudo apt install -y, and then each of these things separated by a space is a package of some kind. These are libraries you can see that are going to be used by MediaPipe and by OpenCV and by the other thing that we're going to install here in a minute. This doesn't take too awfully long. Let me see what my notes say. I switch off my notes page. 2 minutes, about 2 minutes. So yeah, it seems like it should take a lot longer, right? And then finally, our last step. And I don't know, let me control C out of that so I don't hit the enter key accidentally and kill the next 2 minutes. So if you're running a Raspberry Pi 3, you're going to run the following command: sudo pip3. We're going to use the Python installer to install MediaPipe. That's not install, it's going to install an optimizer for MediaPipe that works on the Raspberry Pi 3. If you have a Raspberry Pi 4 that you're doing this on, change the 3 to a 4. There's a different package. It's a different optimizer. And that's another 2-minute install or so, maybe 3, whatever it is. All right, look at the notes, find out. 4 minutes. And for some reason, the tutorial that we're using, the one at PyPy, included a how to uninstall this customizer after each of the 2 installation steps are explained. Okay. I take that to mean perhaps that can conflict with some other program. And if you have another program that you find in conflict, go ahead and install this if you're not playing OpenCV. But for all the playing that I've been done with the last 24 hours or so, I haven't run into any problems with it. And there was nothing in his notes, her notes, that explained why I might have to remove this other than any other reason that I would remove a package. Hey, we're done. This is an OpenCV machine now. So all we got to do is do a lab, right? So let me tell you a little bit about the lab. There is a gentleman that I ran across a post on Discord. His username on, I'm sorry, not Discord, on Reddit. His username on Reddit is Amal Anju, all run together, AMALANJU. So all credit to the code that I'm about to demonstrate to you goes to him. Amal did this project. He did all whatever is necessary to get his Pi to be an OpenCV machine. And then what it looks like he did is he took some stock code and then modified it to make it better, smarter. I'm going to show you the stock code that I believe he used later. I haven't gotten into it and compared them line by line, but he wrote a Python script and he saved it on GitHub. So that's what you got to do next. You got to go get his code. Now you can do that by opening up a browser on your Raspberry Pi and navigating to the site that I'm going to show you here. Or I find browsing on Raspberry Pi to be slow, especially on an older than 4 model. So I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to do that on a browser tab in my Windows computer, and then I'm just going to copy paste. But let me post first of all, the GitHub site where we're going to get this from. So we're going to unshare this for a second. And then go over here, and then go over here. And this is going to be the finger detection script. Click. And I think I have that as a PDF. And if I do, I didn't put it in my PDF list, so don't matter, but I got it there, and that's where it matters. And it's in my notes, so you can get them from my archive notes off of pirsquare.zapto.org. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to open up a tab, and then I'm going to share it with you. Okay. and then we're going to work together. So this is where the link that I just posted will take you to. Amal Angela's, he's Angela here, GitHub page. And you can see on this particular project, on his finger greasers page, he's got two files, and one of them is called main.py. Just single click that, and that will open up his script. He did this with 83 lines of code. That's incredible. That's incredible. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of his code in here, all 83 lines. I've got it highlighted. I'm going to Control C to copy it. And I'll stop sharing. And then we're going back to the Raspberry Pi. Bring up the Pi, share it with you because I like you guys. It's going to happen with this. Are you ready? That's weird, but okay. All right, we're sharing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shrink this because I got a use for it in a little bit, is I'm going to click the applications icon, the Raspberry Pi here, hover over programming, and I'm going to go into my Thani Python development environment. Now you can see I've already pasted it in here and saved it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of it because I want to show you what you're going to encounter the first time. So I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to right click paste, or Thani is really cool. You can Control V and copy your clipboard into there. So here we go. I got 83 lines of code. They've all made it. Now, if you try to run this right now, it's going to take you to a menu that makes you save the code first. So go ahead and, if you want, run it, and then, don't panic when it takes you to a, you got to save this file menu. Or I just headed off at the pass and I save it. And I'm going to save this. I'll call it anything I want. You can see I'm here in my home folder, and maybe I'll call it first test fingers.py. Enter. Okay, now it's saved. Now it's able to run. So here we go. I'm just going to hit the run button. And this takes 30, 40 seconds on a Raspberry Pi 3 with 1 gig of RAM and a 16 gig. Created TensorFlow Lite. I'm keeping my hands out of this screen right now because I want to show you something up here. He's using a pre-created library called MP Drawing, or it's MP Solutions Drawing Utilities, and MP Hands, or MP Solution Hands. So that's what he's basing his code on. And then here, I think he took a lot of code out of here and then out of the default sample code that we can find at MediaPipe. So let me bring this up a little bit more center in the screen. You can't change the size of this screen. At least I haven't figured out how yet. And I'll kind of look toward the camera, and I'm going to bring my hand up. The closer you get to the camera, the better it is. But I've done this all the way back. See, it's taken, as I'm speaking, it takes 3 or 4 seconds for it to catch up. Hey, watch this one. This is really cool. Well, wait, so up here in the upper left-hand corner, you can see it shows 4 fingers in light blue. And then underneath that, it shows index, middle, ring, and pinky. It doesn't detect, it wasn't programmed to understand anything about thumb. We could search. Every one of these data points is numbered. There's 23 of them. And you can say, if this data point moves to these coordinates relative to the other ones, then it's identified as whatever. So let's change this up a little bit with one hand. How about 3 fingers? Gets a little dicey when I try and move my pinky finger. It was broken in a volleyball accident many, many, many years ago, but it's funky. But okay, so now it knows 3 fingers, index, middle, and ring. How about get creative, the 2 center fingers? Okay, he knows, he can tell the difference. Though he does get a little sloppy sometimes. Middle and ring, I'm not going to put just the middle one up. Okay, one finger, it's ring. It doesn't care if your hands are forward or backward. I'm trying to hide the thumb on here. He says, I know where the thumb is gone. Isn't that kind of cool? All right, let's bring another hand into the mix. Now it picks a primary one, and that's the one he says I'm going to count. So he's not going to count 8 fingers, but we could program that in to do that. So let me show you one final trick with this game, and then that's done. Then I'm going to show you cool little option things we can do for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're done with the project. So I'm going to go back to that shell that I had open, and I'm going to set up a program to run. We looked at this program in an episode. Let me check my notes here real quick. I got to change pages for a second. You'll still see that. I don't know where I just went. There we go. Did it. Ready to test, ready to test, ready to test. Scrot. Okay, so we did an episode on using the Scrot utility, SCROT, on April 4th of this year. Scrot is short for screenshot. And what we can do is say something like Scrot minus D, that means delay, number of seconds to delay, 20 seconds, and then take the picture and call it whatever we like. Finger test 1 dot, let's make it a PNG file. So what I'm going to do before I hit the enter key on that, I'm giving it a 20-second delay on purpose. And that's because of the delay that happens here. I want to get my hand up and ready to go. And then I'm going to have my other hand ready to hit the enter key and ready to click the shrink button. All right, so I have my left hand on the enter key. My right hand is up in the camera frame. All right, then I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to hit my mouse button. So the Scrot program will start running, and it'll take a picture in 20 seconds, and the terminal shell will be out of the picture. That's why I'm shrinking it. So enter, click, counting down for 20 seconds. I'll put my smiling face up there and see if I can smile while I talk, looking at the camera. And testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm waiting for the ding. I could also use a stopwatch. Anytime now, dinger. There it goes. There's a lovely ding. So I'm done. And now I can look at that using my file explorer. Finger test 01. I did a whole screenshot on that one and captured everything here. I could have set it up so that it just captured this box or all kinds of other possibilities, but that's the nature of the beast here. Let me show you a couple other things because we're effectively done. I'll stop this program. Okay, it's stopped. I'll stop the share. I want to take you over to a website. That's a good place to go. Okay, there's a website to share with you. This website is mediapipe.dev. Let's put that in the YouTube chat from my notes. Now let's do it from this thing right here. OpenCV website. Oh, here's the OpenCV website, so you can learn a little bit about that. I'm just going to post a couple different links. And again, just download the archive notes. Okay, there's a link for you to the OpenCV site. Here's a link to the MediaPipe site that we're going to look at in just a second. I posted the tutorial. Oh, okay. Here's the site that takes you to where to get the Git files. I think I probably already posted that, but here it is again, just in case I didn't. I'm losing track. There. That's all the links you need from the live stream. Okay, let's go over to MediaPipe and share it with you. And so you can see what they have here is some sample things that can be done with OpenCV and MediaPipe. And I'm going to show you one or two of these live and in real time. This one makes data points around the silhouette of what it detects to be a person. And then you can extract that and put it on a green screen or something like that. Quite obviously, this is a facial recognition mask. I'm going to do that one for you. It makes 468 data points or landmarks on there. This is the basic hand tracking code without identifiers of which one's up and how many there are and which finger is which and so forth. This one will detect hand and body, arm and torso positions, and a little bit of face. This one will detect hair, and then once it's plucked out, you can apply colors to it and colorize somebody's hair. That's artificial intelligence, right? That's the beginning of deep fakes. There's core code in here to start object detection. We need to go a little further with that into artificial intelligence so we can start teaching it how to recognize objects in different positions. Here's one that you probably see regularly, especially if you're a Facebooker. When Facebook sees a picture of people in it, it can identify that's a face, that's a face, that's a face, and prompt you to tag that face. Here's face recognition with body tracking, 3D object detection, and they got lots more. So let me show you one and show you how to take advantage of this. We're going to go and click on Face Mesh here. And I'm going to go down. They're going to have some code. They're going to have some JavaScript code that you can copy paste. And they have some Python code that you can copy paste. And the Python code says if you're going to do stills or if you're going to do video, you need all this stuff up here. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to stop that share. We'll come back and reshare it again in a second. I'm going to share my Pi with you again to show you what to do with that. There it is. There it is. All right, so let's do this as a new program. So I'm going to paste those 4 or 5 lines in there. And now back to the website with the sample code in it. This is the cool thing about using OBS instead of Zoom, because I can have these all set up and ready just to switch back and forth to, but that's the way it is. I haven't switched to OBS yet. All right, we're back at the web page. This is the last time we have to be here. Now it says if you're going to grab stuff from a static image, maybe it's a file. We'd have to specify the file here, or maybe it's coming off of a still of a live camera. Then you would take all the code from here down through here. But it says we're going to do webcam input, take all the code from here down to the end. So I've got all that marked. I'm done sharing this. We don't need to come here anymore. We'll go back to the Raspberry Pi. And then I'm just going to paste that code into here. So I picked it up from webcam input down through cap release. That's what it should look like. And this time I'll show you what happens if you try to run it without pre-saving the code. We're just going to hit run. And it says, I'm not going to run unless you save it. So here's a place to save it. Okay, give it a name. We'll call this face mesh test.py. All right, now it's saved, and I still got to click the run button again. So, okay, let's run it. Came up a little more quickly this time. It's got some stuff already in memory. And there's Dave's facial recognition mask. So instead of sending it out to a video output, we could send that out with all the coordinates of the 462 data points, or however many there were, 468, I think, and then compare that against a file full of 468 data point captures and images, and it will search for a match or a close match and say, yep, that's the guy, arrest him. All right, so we'll stop that run. And you could do the same thing here. We could do a scrot on it. Oh, is this the one that's got hands in it, or is that just face? Let me see something. Oh, yeah, let me stick it to hand. We just stick a hand up in there, and no, it's not picking up. But you could do another scrot in here, give it another name, face test 01. And this one we don't have to wait 30 seconds for. Let's just do this one in 10 seconds. My hands aren't involved in the game. So enter, shrink, show face for 10 seconds. I'll smile and talk while it's happening. Smiling and talking and happening. Or I could have count down from 10. There it goes. It's all done. And I'm not going to bring up the image. You know that it happened. So let's stop that. Let me show you a couple more that I took from that site. So OpenCV face mesh I did. OpenCV finger pie we did. Okay, how about hand tracking? So this is kind of like the one that Amal did. It's already saved. It's all ready to go. Let's see what's different about it. It's already been saved, so I can run it. Okay, so this one's another hand tracker. In fact, it's the same hand tracking. The only difference is it doesn't identify which fingers are up and which are down and how many are up. Works fine, I think, with two hands. Yep. You can try different positions. Get different finger numbers up. I picked this shirt on purpose. I had a shirt, a dark shirt with big fronds on it, and it was picking them up as fingers, especially when I held my hand over. Hey, you can see sometimes it picks up my turkey neck if I get my hands out of it. And one more to show you. There's more on there, but you get the idea. The holistic capture. So this is hands, arms, and torso. This one's a little bit more challenging to get everything correctly in frame. And when I try to do screen captures on this, you'll see it was a real challenge. So it makes, for whatever reasons, the facials in dot. I don't have any hands up, so it's not bothering to show arms. So let's bring a hand into the game. This one's very slow. Got a lot of processing going on here. There we go. So I got upper arm, lower arm, fingers. See if I can get out of the way of my face. And then we'll do another one over here, maybe. So here's why a faster pie goes a long way. I'm trying to find a position. There we go. That gets everything. Cool, huh? So these are very easy to do. Let's recap and call it a day. So prep steps. Get your hardware, install your camera, install or update Raspberry Pi OS, and enable the camera interface. And if you want, if you're using VNC, go ahead and fix that little VNC issue, but it doesn't matter for OpenCV. OpenCV doesn't need the VNC fix in order to do this. Next phase, install OpenCV. It's 3 commands: sudo apt install ffmpeg space python 3 minus OpenCV. And then the second one had that big list of libraries that we copied. And then the third one was the optimizer for either Raspberry Pi 3 or Raspberry Pi 4. Done. The software is all installed and it's ready to go. Next step is to load up Thonny, the Python development environment, and copy and paste code from mediapipe.dev or from Amal or from anywhere else, or start writing your own. Good thing to learn. And you are up and in business doing the first level and some very, very, very rudimentary second and third level machine learning and artificial intelligence. So the whole class isn't about AI and ML. It's about exposing you to technology that is becoming popular and important in 2021 and for the last couple of years, and will certainly become more so. And I believe that we will encounter this in future in the CompTIA world. Maybe they'll do a dedicated AI ML course. Who knows? But you've got the foundations down. So utter coolness. Let me clean up my screens and then we'll go back and start catching up on questions, because here endeth the lesson. Not bad, huh? That took less than 45 minutes and there was a lot of time and explanation in here. So if you just follow the steps, you can do this in 15, 20 minutes if you get all your ducks in a row first. Checking my notes, see if there's anything that I missed. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is one thing I got to talk about. So what's the point? I shared some of the screen caps here that I did before. In fact, let me do that with you right here and right now, because I did some really cool things with these. And that takes me into this last little 2-minute thing to talk about. So that was my first effort doing this. I was shocked. It just command, load Thonny, save the file, and it just worked out of the box. Then I tried it in low light conditions. Worked pretty darn well. Can't see that it says index, middle, and ring here, but we could change the font color on that if we wanted, and we'd be able to read that. Tried it forward hand, backward hand, pinky down, thumb hidden, 2 hands, low light. That was my first effort at a face mask test, and again in low light. My first holistic test in low light. So I posted a couple of these on the company website and got appropriate appreciation. But somebody said, what's the point of all this? What does this lead to? And well, that's a really good question. What can you actually do with this? So we talked about one of them. Facebook uses it to help you tag faces. It doesn't face mask recognize them, but it says, hey, that's a face. Do you want to tag a name to that one? So I'm going to my list, trying to do this not off my head because it was such good stuff. And I remind you that this would be much better if we did this on a more powerful 4 that was overclocked with more RAM. So it's not just about identifying fingers, right? We can do personal detection. We can do object detection. And now, when I say person detection, I'm talking about I can tell that that thing in the image is a person. I saw a project a day or two ago where a person wired up person detection to his automatic sprinkler system. So whenever some person was walking by his front yard, it would detect, oh, that's a person, and it would turn off the sprinkler until the person got beyond boundaries. What can you do with fingers? Well, there's a lot we can do with fingers. We can do sign language, right? We can teach AI or ML to understand all the different possible positions and the letters they mean and the words they mean. You could use this as a Zoom meeting attention getter in a classroom. Instead of a person raising their hand or clicking on a dinger or something like that, you could have a command that you teach everybody, a handshake that you teach everybody. I don't know, how about like this? So we can show horizontal versus vertical, and the camera will pick that up, the OpenCV, and let the teacher know, hey, station number 34, wants attention. You could use this directly as input to your computer. Screen brighten, screen damp, turn the volume up, whatever. And it's just endless. It goes on and on. Detect machine actuator positions. It's used in identifying things around in self-driving vehicles. And we're not just talking about cars. It's not just a Tesla. How about those little pizza delivery things that are, this big and run on sidewalks? They can use it to identify people and trees and signs and curbs, and it just never ends. All right, so that completes everything that I wanted to present. Where am I at? I am there. I've got everything turned off. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I didn't. Okay, I did that. Let me get reset back up so I can see you. Not that, this. How are we doing on time here? We got about 10 minutes left. That's perfect. Just perfect. And this page, and get rid of that and put this page up. And one last thing. Okay, this page is where I want to go. All right, let's see if I can get caught up, how far back I was. We finished up in the 240s. Okay, yeah, in the 240s during incident response. So 251, Jan Ramiro, why do most companies or organizations have their own DNS server instead of using an internet provider? I'm confused. That one's really easy. Here you go. Let's say you take one of the popular internet-based DNS servers, Google's at 8.8.8.8, and their other one at 8.8.4.4. Well, built into their database is other DNS servers that are in the internet, links to them, paths to them, and all the stuff that's available on the public internet. But what it can't get to is stuff that's on private lands, on the land side. It can't reach into my house and find that I have a pie up here called volumio.local. So what we do is we set up an internal DNS server that identifies all of my internal resources and then has a connection, a lookup to an external like Google server. So if I type in volumio.local, my DNS server will hand my computer that IP address. But if I type in cheesefactory.com, looks in his database and says, no, that's a .com, that's not a .local, I'll make a call out and start resolving it with google.com or whatever other external. So the externals can't reach across the NAT routers to the inside of your LAN, so they can't find your local DNS hosts, DNS entries. Hope that helps. Moving on. Guru Chaz, can you make an RP4 AI that counts cards you hide in your sleeve? Yeah, but you're going to need a different camera. Had to step away, said Jason Helms. I'll catch the replay. Okay, it'll be available. Doug Shaw, instead of taking input from camera, could one feed YouTube video into MediaPi? Yes. I don't have the hands-on step-by-step, but yes, without doubt. MediaPipe is smart enough to pick up just about any kind of video input. We may have to use FFmpeg to convert stream to something that's palatable to OpenCV, but absolutely, yes, very good question. Jason Helms, I laughed when he said sign language with fingers. Yeah, well, yeah, because sign language with other appendages could be fun and interesting, yeah? That's really cool to think about all the uses. Yeah, it really is. As I just barely scratched the surface there. My alarm never went off, says Tullowit. Your afternoon alarm? Dude. 353, I was about to send the nerd boys to come get you. Hey, we're caught up here. Nice. I was wondering where you were. Would have been the first time I missed an AMA. Yep, so you're on it. Okay, so reminder, what do we got here? I got 6 minutes. We're going to do an anniversary show on August 6th. There's going to be giveaways, and we have an amazing method that you're going to participate in the contest. It's not going to be Mike style. You're not going to answer a test question. I got a whole different method to work on, and I'm going to have that all cobbled together and tested this week, and I will announce it starting next week, and we're going to start hyping the heck out of this thing. And if you checked in late, we got pie giveaways on that one. We know we can get them to the US, Canada, and I think Puerto Rico. We're going to be able to get them to England, as we're going to use Amazon UK over there. For the rest of Europe, we don't know if we can get them there. We'll try, but if not, we'll have prizes of value of some kind. We're certainly doing some total tester giveaways, and we'll try, if you're a potential winner for a Raspberry Pi, to get you something of equal value. No commitments yet, but certainly a promise to try. I'm going to be on Discord here shortly after the show, and throw the Discord link up again. Discord links right there. I'll put them in the YouTube chat. Takes me about 10 or 15 minutes to catch up on questions. I have two links here, by the way, when I do these Discords. One is a server invite, and one is a Discord invite. Use either of them. And as I've said before, if it says that link is expired, just find on the page where it says continue anyways, and you shall get in. And we will talk to you. I'll be there on camera and mic. A number of the regulars will be there on camera and mic. If you got camera and mic, please use them and join us. But if not, join us anyways, and we'll talk to you with texty fingers. Hey, that's something you could do with OpenCV. In fact, the one image, you could see where the fingers are on a keyboard and watch what's being typed. There's a cool idea. I love that. All right. Any other questions? If you got them, post them now. I'm going to close this thing down in about 2 minutes. The pirsquare.zapto.org server will be up until late tonight, 2 o'clock in the morning or so. It's got all of the notes and pictures and graphics and PDFs and outlines that I used in today's. That's the last link on there. And the same for all the other shows that we've ever done. It's all in the downloads page. If you look at the playlist page on youtube.com/user/Total Seminars channel, there's a playlist for every one of Mike's AMAs. There's a playlist for every one of the dramas that we've done. So you can catch up on old shows over there, or you can look through them by date. I will have the indices on them that are behind the times. I'll get posting on them next week, and they'll be all caught up in a week or two. So all good stuff. Definitely available from Amazon Co. New Zealand. All right. I will talk with Kathy, and if we got New Zealanders in, that means we should have Aussies in. We should be able to take care of that. So we'll do what we can. I promise you that. All right, no new questions coming in. Weekend's coming up. Discord's coming up. So we're going to wind things up. As always, my thanks to Mike Myers, to Scott Jernigan, to Michael Smyer, everybody at Total who lets me come here and talk with you. And most of all, I thank you. The show doesn't happen without you. And you can't imagine how appreciative I am that we're here to talk about these things. I haven't picked a show for next week. I've been so geared up on the last 3. That's it for my advanced planning. So I'll start advanced planning again next week. Mike is tentatively planning 2 different presentations in the next week or so, but he says he couldn't commit to them. There's a lot of information there. Trying to remember what they were. I usually have them in my notes here, but they didn't make it for some odd reason. So there was some good stuff though. TPM and TPM2, I think, is one of them. And then there was another. So let's wind it up then. This has been Dave Rush. I am the senior instructor at Total Seminars and resident Pi specialist. Sorry, I got notes here to say, get this page ready, and I didn't. Arg, schmoogers. There, that's the page I want ready. Okay, anyways. So I'm wishing you a great weekend. Take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy. Call and visit your parents and the rest of your family, and never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resource we have are you and I. Good night. I'll see you on Discord and at the AMA next week. I am out of here.